welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message at the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try and force in some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Episode 477 of the Trinity Force Podcast is now live. It says 476 up there, but this is 477. Patch 7.19 is tonight's discussion, joined by 5 fantastic fellows. Dom, Beaver, Punch, Cereal Box, and Santana are all with me this week. 6-man show in your ears, and Beaver no longer sounds like a tin can.
Yeah, I finally have a microphone. Feels good.
Miracle.
It's a miracle, and you've saved everybody's ears. They all love you. They just didn't love the tin can. You also look like you're hotboxing, just because of the way the light's coming into your room right now.
Yeah, the light's like right in my eyes.
Close a curtain, maybe?
It's too late. I'm committed now.
It's dark outside here. There's no sunshine in Indiana.
Yeah, no sunshine over here in Kentucky either. Not right now. But hey, it's going to be 70, so it's going to be beautiful the next couple of days. Thank God. No more 90-degree weather. Fall is here. I love fall. I'm very happy and ready for that to weather. But not as happy as you guys are about the contest that's coming up, the Skylabs Performance Seeding Tilt Contest. By the time you hear this podcast, you will have roughly 24 hours to enter that contest. If you're watching live, you have a little bit more. September 30th, which would be Saturday, correct?
Sure.
That's Saturday. Yes, that's
Yes.
Saturday. September 30th, you will, until 3 a.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Pacific Time, you have to enter the contest. Email us, contest@trinityforcepodcast.com. I have been replying to anybody that sends it to feedback, telling you to get it over to contest. If you send it to feedback and I'm not awake, I'm sorry about your luck. Probably not going to add you because I'm just going through the contest box. Make sure contest@trinityforcepodcast.com. Get us a picture or video of Tilt. I'm going to randomly select a winner. Again, there's like under 50 people total that have entered this competition. Out of the thousands that listen to this show, you have a really good chance of winning. So get us a picture or video in. Make one up. I don't care. Get into a custom game. Just get your thing in, right?
Tilt your friends. It's all worth it.
I'm tilted by watching Cereal eat. Doesn't even have a job.
It's almost over.
Doesn't have a job.
Yep.
Still eating during podcast time.
What are you eating? That's an important question.
Asian food.
That tells me nothing.
Kebab.
I forget what this is called. It's like a mini dumpling. That's the last bit of this. This is great podcasting, guys. League of Legends is something we talk about sometimes.
No, it isn't.
This man with the transition. Let's jump right into it. Oh, we have a weekly challenge, by the way. We received a couple of great emails this week from listeners saying they love the weekly challenges, specifically the selfless build one. I had one listener write in and say he started building Tracker's Knife and saw his win percentage increase because he started providing more vision for his team. So that's awesome. This week's weekly challenge is ping every ward you see. Riot did put in a new ward ping that you can bind to any key that you would like, and we'd like for you to use that. Every time you see a ward be dropped, put anywhere or you run over one, just ping it so people know where it's at.
Especially if it's your own team. Make sure they know what you've got warded.
And you definitely could do that too. Give people the idea. Hey, I'm warding this.
Look how much brighter the area is.
Woo!
Well, that's not too bad considering the amount of times you put a double ward down. Or 2 people are approaching a bush and they both ward at the same time. You're like, oh, darn it.
What if that's the next ping that comes out? The next ping that comes out,
I'm going to
ward this in like 2 seconds.
There's a countdown
We need
timer
that.
that appears over it, and it starts counting down about when you're going to ward it. That'd be great.
Make it a red thread.
We have all the ways to communicate things that we don't want, and yet the things we need.
I need this.
Sadly
Dom.
lacking.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me I don't need this. Just like last week, we talked about better death analysis and analysis in game would be awesome. But we won't get in that. If you want to hear it, listen to last week's podcast or Monday's podcast. Patch 7.19. We're going to jump into that right now. And we're going to start at the top of the list here with Spell Shield. Spell Shields now block only the first ability that hits, rather than every ability that hits at the same time the shield is broken. This affects like Sivir, Nocturne, Edge of Night, Banshee's Veil.
I think this is the
Only Malzahar
third time they've fixed this bug. I know they fixed it for Sivir at least once, and then they fixed it again for Summoner spells for Sivir. So yeah, cool.
Unraveling the spaghetti slowly.
That was their own joke, in fact. So
Mhm.
Oh, slowly unraveling the spaghetti.
yeah.
Oh God. All right, top laners. Hey, remember that change I asked about a couple weeks ago, where it was at? Aatrox. Aatrox is now unstoppable during the Q descent.
Remind me.
It's there. Aatrox is now unstoppable during Q Dark Flight's descent.
Great.
Great.
Fantastic.
I think Punch lagged for a second.
Excellent.
There.
Yeah.
That's what the awkward silence
Yeah, I
was
did.
about.
I definitely lagged.
Our Massacre's additional attack range has been increased to 225 from 175 as well.
Which is
Cool.
actually pretty nice because that means he can get one more auto attack. And since Blood Price's W is so much friggin' damage, sometimes all he needs is one more auto attack to finish off a squishy target. So that's not that bad.
That Dark Flight change, I think, that's really interesting to me because that's the first of its kind as far as like dash gap closing type mechanics go, right? Everything else usually can be interrupted during.
Or Shyvana.
Similar thing happened to
Yeah.
Shyvana about a year ago. I would say I used to get flayed out of my ult all the time. It was really annoying, but
And if I'm recalling, wasn't that like a really big deal for her at the time?
it was
Like,
an
didn't
extremely
she
big deal.
Get a ton of play right after and just
Yeah,
crush it.
Yeah, she did. The only problem is I'm not sure. I'm not an Aatrox specialist. Maybe Punch can answer this question, but
Yeah, it's definitely.
I
I'm an
mean,
Aatrox main.
what's his biggest shortcoming? Is it his laning?
His laning fucking sucks. It's and he just doesn't do
Yeah.
anything unless he's splitting.
Yeah.
His team
So
fight's really awful.
Yeah.
this change strikes me sort of as the one that happened to Nasus recently. I know they're different, but it sort of just makes the champion better at something they're already good at, and that's when they have a lead. So it doesn't actually help his real problem, which is probably laning.
Yeah, like you see it a lot. There's an Aatrox one trick that you see fairly often in Masters, and unless the person's not a top laner or just isn't paying attention, you'll sometimes randomly get solo killed at level 2 or 3. But for the most part, he's pretty terrible in the top lane meta at the moment. So buffs are nice, but this doesn't really fix anything.
Well, Aatrox is slated after Swain to get an update, so it's still being a
Again?
bit.
Ugh.
Yes, he is on the list. Swain is next because Swain is after Evelyn, and then there you go. I'm just happy they're slowly giving making Aatrox more of a champion, but we won't dwell on it too long. Ornn, more changes. Patch base mana been increased to 340. Volcanic Rupture his Q. Mana cost is now a flat 55 at all ranks, and Searing Charge mana has been dropped to 50. I think these are really good changes, and these are some of the things these are definitely the things that Ornn needed. He needed mana cost reductions because his abilities are easy to spam and it's very easy to go
They were really worried about his ability to buy items, from anywhere, and that's why they were real conservative with his mana costs and his base mana. And since that hasn't been the problem they thought it was going to be, they're kind of giving him some of the power back that they held off on.
This is kind of doubly potent, so it's usually casting E and Q together. Correct.
Mhm.
That is the Q that puts up the pillar, and then the E that
Correct.
charges them into the pillar.
For the
So
most part, though,
you're kind of
you're not-
saving mana on both of those.
For the most part, though, you only really use that combo, or should only use that combo if you're getting like gank assistance, because you still will go super quick, and you usually just use W to trade. So
Yeah,
Which
and at
does
least
a lot of
they're-
damage.
Yeah, at least they didn't like mess with W's. I don't remember if W's a flat or scaling mana, but like if they're gonna give you all these mana changes, not like messing with the first max, I think is a good plan.
I agree.
Yeah,
Todd
Rumble
and I-
all over again.
Todd and I played against Norn earlier today in Flex, and honestly, it wasn't super noticeable, the difference in his laning, but I'm sure it helps.
Mhm.
Him get one more rotation off, maybe.
I'm sure the Ornn notices. Like the Ornn player probably notices pretty well.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the next champion that get changed. Rumble. Rumble can now correctly cast his E Electro Harpoon if overheated. This is just a bug that popped up. Big Reddit thread about it, and they fixed it.
Yeah, I don't know how this was like just thrown in the bug thing though, because that seems like a really big deal to Rumble players.
I've noticed it a couple times when I've been overheated, and then like, but wait, I have one more
I'm supposed to.
charge,
Supposed to be able to do that.
and then the guy walks away, and I'm like, oh, he was dead there. Well, that sucks.
So
But yeah,
Yep, big change.
good for Rumble. I think Rumble's actually really good in solo queue right now.
He's always
he's almost
good.
always good in solo queue, and nobody ever plays him.
Fucking Rumble.
Yeah.
Good.
Malphite W, Brutal Strikes. Brutal Strikes passive armor is now tripled while Granite Shield is active. Passive armor went from 15 to 35 flat. It is now 10 to 30% armor.
This is very much how they changed Rammus a while ago to like make Malphite the de facto. You picked up AD mid. All right, we have Malphite.
I mean the
You already had that, right? Like,
Kind
you kind of
of.
already had, like that was already the pick to make, but now you're giving some. So I think you're giving something extra to Malphite and something, and not making it constant. Like you can still play around it. I kind of like that.
It's very interesting that they chose this path instead of either helping his mana costs or pretty much helping his mana costs, because a lot of the times if you're playing Malphite top, you do your rotation, you're out of mana, or you just get zoned off the wave and are down like 20 CS. But now with this kind of percent passive, you're almost okay taking that really early game deficit to trade off to have like 500 armor later in the game.
Yeah. Malphite's not supposed to have a good laning phase. Like he's not supposed to be able to trade. He's supposed to be, more than less, you are almost always going to be zoned off and you're going to be down CS as Malphite, and unless it's like a really good matchup for him. But this is great because you're picking Malphite kind of like that de facto top lane. I don't know how to play top lane, but I know how to engage. So giving any kind of little help to Malphite to be able to survive the tanks is great. And does this push him into like top 10?
This makes his laning worse, though.
You lose
losing
the
flat armor, and even with the double, or even with it tripled and everything, you start out with like 30 some odd armor and everything. So you're still only getting like 9, 12 somewhere in there. You're still gonna have less armor than you would have.
Right. Like it's not great, but it's incentivizing more of that later in the game.
Yeah, it's definitely better later, but like there's a good stretch of the game where this actually ends up being worse for him.
I don't
think that's necessarily true, though. I think it's after. I had to do the math. I should have looked at the math, but I want to say probably after your first back, you're ahead. You're
close to it.
You're ahead only while you have your passive up. Once that goes down, you're totally like shit out of luck.
Mm.
I mean,
You're
like
down
eventually it
5%.
ends up being a lot.
You're down 5% from last.
No, it's flat to percent.
They changed flat to percent.
It's a big difference.
No, it's percent to percent. It says in the patch. It says in the actual patch notes from League of Legends, it says 15 to 35% armor to 10 to 30% armor. I don't know if that was.
There's a bug because
it does. It does. Maybe we're wrong.
Then they had it wrong in the patch originally.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not. I am.
That's fine.
Unfamiliar with the fight.
No, good call.
I took these straight from their patch notes, so.
Okay. Because that doesn't it doesn't scream that bad to me, because it would be in the live case you have 30 and 10
It does
say
percentage.
percent. Just
They
say
fucked it
percent.
up. Yeah,
So they fucked it up when I did it yesterday.
So now this is just pretty much a straight buff. I would say.
Mostly a buff.
So it's a buff when
Alright.
you have passive up. It is a nerf when you don't have passive up.
Yeah. Agreed.
So
and that actually kind of makes sense for the, like, while the shield's up, you had that little bit of extra. Like, it's more difficult to get that shield down, but once that trade continues further, you're getting punished for it.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I think what they're trying to do is make it easier for him to survive those early trades, right?
Also keeps the passive up a little. So.
Great. We have talked too much about Malphite.
I gotta scroll up here. So more top lane here. We're gonna go down to some items. Bramble Vest has been changed. The total cost has gone up to 1,000 gold. The combined cost has gone up as well to 400 gold. Damage reflected down to 15, and no longer applies grievous wounds to non-champions.
Cool. This item's still too good.
Yep. Their original change actually gave it more armor and made it cost more gold. And then the damage reflected doesn't really matter. It's all about the grievous wounds.
Yeah,
And it
it's-
actually made the item better on PvE, so then they just left the armor the same.
The fact that you get a 50% on grievous wounds instead of having something like, ideally, in my ideal world, you have this as a combined item, and the percentage where grievous wounds starts is lower, and then when you combine it to Thornmail, then it goes up to 50%. But just 1,000 gold for 50%, under 50% grievous wounds, it's like, man, this is still really strong, and it makes
Still buying that item.
Yeah, pretty much.
And from an
What's-
item parity standpoint, it really didn't make sense for this thing to be cheaper than Warden's Mail.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
What's the point of the non-champions portion of it? Like, I see it's a bug fix, but like, what has lifesteal in the game that isn't named champions?
It's not. It's less that it's.
Or is it just like
so
you don't
much-
want to see people like auto like a minion having grievous wounds for no reason. I guess could be.
Well, when the jungle camps reset, they reset their health too. So
Oh,
it could
true.
affect
I guess
that.
so. Oh yeah,
it's-
good
it's
point.
corner
It's
case.
just
I was
kind of
thinking
like
only
a corner
lifesteal, which is
case.
wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thornmail up to 80 armor, by the way, from 75.
They want people to buy Thornmail because people against sit on Bramble Vest the entire game without upgrading.
Righteous Glory total cost has been increased to 2650 from 2500. Combined cost has also gone up with that increase to 1100 from 950.
Needed.
Yeah, I mean, and the funny part is, I feel like not enough people are buying this item.
Yep.
It's
It's good again. people
It's
don't
really
realize.
good, and so it's good that they got in front of it in that regard. But I mean, it's already really good.
Yeah, that item is when it's good. It's like it should be in every game good, which is confusing to me. Like how often that meta switches
Yeah. And
to have that be so good.
professionals are picking like Galio mid and a tank top, and both of them build Righteous Glory. So
Because
yeah.
it's so efficient to have armor and HP on an item in addition to having a really efficient engage off of
has
your item. Yeah.
it has an AoE slow as well. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's super stat
It's a
efficient.
good
still.
item.
Yeah, to the AoE, so they changed it. The AoE slows the first person it comes in contact with, or the first
Okay.
person he's in range. Because it
It's still
used
pretty
to
good.
be stop and then slow everybody. But yeah, still fantastic, right? All right, let's move into junglers because there's some big changes this patch with Xin Zhao, who got a complete rework, and we're just going to go through that rework before we start talking about him a bit. His base stats, his base attack speed has been decreased to 0.645. His attack speed scaling has been increased to 3.5% from 2.6%. So getting more attack speed per level with lower base starting attack speed, essentially. Passive determination. So they let's do it this way. They took his W and moved the passive on that, or W, all around to different locations, essentially. So now his new passive is every third attack deals 20 to 80% at levels 1, 6, 11, 16 of total AD as bonus damage. And every third attack heals Xin Zhao. That's his passive. His Q, 3 Talon Strike, is now, the damage is now 15 to 35 from 15 to 75, but it has a 0.4 bonus attack damage ratio. Nerfing this because he has the passive on determination, which scales with his level. And that the Q is an auto attack reset for those who did not play Xin Zhao. W, winds become lightning. So what he does is he puts, think Rengar.
It becomes lightning.
Yeah.
Rengar and Sejuani.
There you go. Yeah, he he slashes in front of him, and then he shoves his spear forward. All enemies hit by the thrust are slowed by 50% for 1.5 seconds. We won't necessarily talk about the total damage there, but there's a significant amount of damage on the slash and thrust damage. When becomes lightning, cast time is reduced by bonus attack speed, and the durations on his other abilities are paused during this effect. So
I want to quick go over that because it has like a 0.6 second cast animation, and it gets down to 0.4 seconds with attack speed. So it does get faster. It's not it's not a slow attack by any means to start out with, and like it gets a little bit faster, but not lightning quick.
right, Audacious Charge is pretty much the same thing as you're used to, but it now has a 0.5 second slow instead of 2 seconds, and the cost has gone down. But when you cast it, so when you charge in at somebody, you gain 40 to 60% attack speed for 5 seconds. So they moved his attack speed from W onto his E. You have to engage to gain that attack speed. And now Crescent Guard, it no longer grants bonus resistances. It still does the same thing as you're used to. It still sweeps everybody away and keeps the target you were targeting right near you. But for 3 seconds after casting Crescent Guard, Xin Zhao will negate all damage originating from champions further than 450 units away. So essentially he gets like a wind wall shield. Basic attacks and other spells cast extend the duration by 0.3 seconds, but the remaining duration cannot exceed 3 seconds. So he gets a total, if you're weaving your auto attacks and abilities correctly, of 6 seconds of damage immunity.
Where do we want to start?
I mean, that last thing, it basically just means you can't press R and then smash all of the buttons on your keyboard to extend it for another 3 seconds and then figure out what you're going to do. Like, you have to be thoughtful about what you're about when you're using your abilities to keep that invulnerability type effect up.
Right. Well, so the start, at the end of the day, it's still Xin Zhao. So he still has the shortcomings that he previously did, where he has to, once he's in, he can't get out. But they tried to band-aid that by not taking damage from anybody that he pushed outside of the circle. But unfortunately, people can just walk in that circle to deal damage to him if they want to. Oh, like if you sweep somebody out, Malphite can re-engage and then start doing damage to you. I do think these changes end up making him better in the long run, because a unique trick that I saw was that during your third strike of what is it, the pop up for Q, three talon strike.
Yeah.
You can actually W and you can weave an auto attack in between the second and third attack, and so you can get the pop up and get the W off at the same time. So like you can go 1, 2, W, 3, and they pop up and they take all the damage,
ensuring that your W hits and they don't flash out of it or something like that.
Right.
Because the W, for those not checking numbers and stuff, if you hit both slash and thrust, that's a 1.15 total attack damage ratio, which is generally unheard of for how high that is. Usually see that on bonus AD ratios. That's if he hits both of that, it's gonna chunk.
Yeah, and another thing to remember is like with all these AD ratios, they're all insane. They're really pushing you towards going full damage build on him, so like
is what I've been
full
seeing.
glass cannon. So a nice thing about Xin Zhao is his old playstyle was you're incredibly strong in the early game, so you could walk around if you were jungling him. You didn't have the best clear because you have no AoE, but you have very, very good ganks, and they're very smooth. So you could get elite that way, and then later in the game, you could transition into sort of like a tanky engaged champion with less dueling power. But now they're really like, they've set back his early game, but you have a slightly better clear. He's not as smooth and doesn't have quite as much damage early, but he has crazy ratios, so you scale way better into the late game than you used to.
Mm-hmm. And I know a couple times in the podcast, Dom, you've brought up things like shield creep, and obviously mobility creep's been a thing in the game. I think this is an interesting way to take his ult, because I think we're kind of almost seeing a range creep. Because all the champions lately, we're seeing Tristana pop back up, we're seeing Twitch, we're seeing Kog'Maw, all these have really, really long, hard ranges that are difficult to deal with for a lot of team comps. And Zin's almost like this, well, we're going to try and design it this way as a way to say, well, if you pick 2 long-range champions, it's less effective than if you had, say, like a more melee comp.
And it puts range champions into this weird catch-22 situation where if he's got his ult running and everything, they can't hurt him from afar. And so if they want to deal damage, and they're usually the heavy damage dealers, they have to get close to him, and that's exactly what Xin wants.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that his ult almost turns into like a Taric ult situation where it just ends up being a disengage for the opponent team. But I mean, Zin's going to be on top of somebody at that point, so it's different from Taric in that regard. You know, I just don't think it'll be as effective to try and move away.
That does sound weird to me, though, because so we're talking about Xin engaging the front line and ulting the enemy front line, as opposed to going to the back line, just where he usually wants to dive into.
Right, but he's never had.
So if he's building damage now, if he's building damage now, he's not going to be very tanky on the front line. I guess we don't know how effective he's going to be in a bruiser versus bruiser fight, but it just seems weird since traditionally his targets are not tanks.
But he kind of has that Warwick element to him where he's going to be getting a lot of health back just by auto attacking.
Mm-hmm.
And his healing scales with his total AD or bonus AD scales with his AD.
It's total. It's I think. So something that I thought was weird that I was curious about the numbers on healing just because it didn't show up in the patch notes. But apparently, wind becomes lightning strikes also apply for the every third basic attack thing, part of his passive. So like those add to the count for his getting bonus damage and healing. So you have more ways of pulling that off, even with auto attack resets and attack speed buffs. So
damn,
you have a ton of ways of doing this.
Do those just count as on hit like auto attacks? I guess basically, because are those applying the 3 talon strike?
No, so it just says the wording that I'm reading says every third basic attack or wind becomes lightning strike, deal bonus damage and restores health. So it's just saying those count towards that counter as opposed to counting as an on hit, because I think that'd be a bit too strong if you added on hit effects to the W. I would be really frightened of that.
I mean, so he has with some AD to support him, like he could deal a lot of damage in a really short amount of time, and you're not going to be able to, your carries aren't going to be able to blow him up unless it's like a Zed or other assassin type champs who are going to get in on him and then deal their damage and then leave.
I figured that would probably be the way to go with him, right? Because if you're jungling him, Warrior seems really good. They're trying to push you Blood Razor if you log in with Smite. They want you to have Blood Razor, but Warrior seems to be really, really good on him. Dead Man's as well to get that extra burst. But any kind of lethality, I know that's what the people that are playing him today were building, all lethality. Absolutely. Anything that gives lethality and damage, right, is just insane. Because he can blow through that front line, through that bruiser really, really quickly with the amount of burst damage he has.
Yeah, Trinity Force is still really good on him. I got a chance to play with 2 Xin Zhaos today. The first one was Todd, and he was laning Xin Zhao top against an Ornn. And he did pretty well. He got an early double kill, but then maybe right after he got back to lane from the double kill, he died 1v1 to Ornn, and I don't know what that's about, but I think it was the Bramble Vest that the Ornn bought, but still, I don't think he's quite as strong early, and that was even more noticeable in the second game when I was mid, Todd was top lane Garen, and then we had a jungle Xin Zhao. I know he was a decent player, but he went 1-6 because he was trying to pick fights early and he kept dying to laners. I don't think he was used to the lower power level, but then as soon as he got 3 or 4 AD items in the late game, he was destroying people. So it was actually pretty scary.
Maybe he's overscaled?
I don't think so. I think there's going to be a slightly different, there's a slightly different play style to him now. You have to be a little more conservative early game. He doesn't have that insane level 3 power spike. I mean, it's still good, but it's not quite the same. And I know Todd was saying he thinks he's fine, and his Q is a little bit clunky, but I think it just remains to be seen sort of how people play and build him now.
I don't have a good reason, but I keep looking at Fiora as a good comparison to him. I don't have a good reason, but there's just for some reason they strike me as similar.
I mean, you get a flowing kind of champion. I can see that. But I think that
even just the way you're going to want to build him. Yeah,
I think that his win rate's actually going to suffer early because people will think of him as Beaver's saying, as you're flip flopping the power spikes. And if you don't recognize that, if you think you're going to play him like you used to, it's not going to work. If you keep doing those early ganks, it's not going to be as effective. But if you can wrap your mind around the change to that play style, I think he's going to be a monster.
I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, he can still gank at level 3 pretty well because of the knock-up and the slow, but his dueling potential has just gone down a little bit. So you have to be wary of what fights you can pick. So just play some games and test that out for yourself if you're a Xin Zhao player.
Yeah, we'll follow up on all these changes and everything here on Monday too, after some people have some time to play this weekend. Especially if we move on and talk about Azir, who got changed. Unfortunately, through all these changes, I can't talk to the power level of Azir. I'm assuming through all these that he actually gets better, but we'll try to just at least cover what's going on. Base stats: he has more base health and he has more movement speed, up to 540 and 335. Conquering Sands cast range has been decreased to 720. That is the Q that moves the soldiers that he summons through W. Spear length has been increased to 370 to make up for the cast range. The cooldown has been increased, but decreases over time. So it's up more often in later game. Base damage has been increased from 65 to 140 to 70 to 190. Ratio has been decreased to make up for that. And soldiers now clump closer together upon arrival. So there's that. That's Q. Essentially, shorter cast range, and the spear length is longer.
Nah.
Well, think about how much zone control he often gets, and if they're clumping closer together, he loses some of that.
Sure.
W Rise soldiers command range is down to 660 from 800. Which is gigantic, specifically in lane or any kind of sieging. The cast range, that's the command range, sorry. So he has to be closer to his soldiers to command them to do anything. The cast range, though, has been increased to 500 from 450, so we can get him out a little bit further than he previously did. Azir soldiers can no longer attack wards or trinkets, so he can't go over the wall and kill anything.
Thank fucking God, I hated that.
Right. Base damage has been adjusted. They have more early and less late, essentially. Azir now gains an additional 20 to 60% attack speed for 5 seconds whenever he summons a soldier while he already has 2 on the field. So they're trying to prioritize you, or incentivize you to have a bunch of soldiers up and use them later into the game. Or
And make it so you don't have to build Nashers. Build something else.
You're still building Nashers.
I know, but that's what they're going for.
Ammo recharge has been decreased. It was 10 to 6, now 8 to 6. Stabs now deal 40 to 100% damage to secondary targets at levels 1, 6, 11. Was it 100% all the way through previously, and then they just nerfed it to be 40 to 100%?
I believe so, and
believe
that's
that's
Yes.
that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
There's a significant source of harass in the laning phase when you can just poke through a minion to get to them.
So we'll cover the rest of the Azir changes. The thing with Azir was a lot of these changes are shifting him back to, well, not back, but like forever emphasizing that he's a late game, high damage dealing champion. When if you played any Azir in the last like 6 months or so, that was never his problem. His problem was getting to the point where he hit 3 items and then he just shreds everything. And all these changes right now are really hurting his lane phase. With the W chain specifically, one of the things you could do to kind of get around that is try to aggressively shove lane. And that way you could like back off. You could have a kind of a safe lane and just put the pressure on and keep minions going into the tower rather than trying to like trade, or because he trades really poorly against a lot of the meta stuff. But now he's losing a lot of that shove. He's really going to have a rough time getting through lane. It's I'm kind of not great on these Azir changes, but we can keep going.
The shield change is nice for his laning though.
Kind of, but it's a 1.5. It's supposed to be used offensively like Riven Shield. That's a pretty good analog here. Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine.
all good.
It's fine to bring that up. Sorry, my brother just got into Pokemon, so I was texting him I was texting him the nature chart because he was asking me in the middle of the podcast. I'm sorry.
Oh boy.
He doesn't have Google.
You can't.
No,
Really?
it's easier to just send it to him while you guys
Bulbapedia.
are talking about Azir. Right. E Shifting Sands. Shield now has 0.7 ability power ratio. Shield duration down to 1.5 seconds from 4. Azir now gains his shield upon casting E, not after hitting an enemy champion. If Azir hits an enemy champion, he immediately gains a W charge.
Yeah, so this is very, very much in the vein of we want you to play aggressively with this rather than use your E to move out of combat or just kind of Shurima shuffle people.
Right. That's something that they did mention before. They still want him to be able to Shurima shuffle and do all that. They just want him to have the extra the extra damage and whatnot after he was Shurima shuffling. They wanted him to be less safe, essentially, to do this shuffle. So 1.5 second E duration instead of 4, or shield duration. Emperor's Divide. Wall soldiers now only interrupt enemy dashes over them while the soldiers themselves are moving. After reaching their final destination, wall soldiers now behave as normal terrain. Which I think is pretty big,
Thank
right?
God.
That's a really big change, and that, again, hurts him a lot.
Yeah. Wall size.
It was really annoying to just run to like Lucian dash into that and just be pushed back again, which I guess makes that sense thematically, but this is much better. Although could you like Vayne condemn somebody into his soldiers originally?
Because it is terrain.
So I didn't know if that was new.
It is
Okay.
terrain, I believe.
Right.
Oh, actually.
See, well,
I
now
don't
it's saying that they have his normal terrain. I don't know if that's like a new thing that you could potentially utilize.
Yeah, I don't know. Because you rarely saw Vayne Azir together in the same game.
It's fair, but
I'm pretty sure it just acted as.
Boy, that would be a toxic game, huh?
I'm pretty sure you could condemn into it. You could flash over it. You just couldn't use gap closers through it, kind of like
Yeah,
those,
but
like,
you had the
thick
flash
walls.
perfectly. If you were even just a little bit off, you got bounced back.
Wall size up to 567 soldiers from 456. Cooldown has been decreased. It is now 120, 105, 90 from 140, 120, 100. Overall, I've heard positive things about the Azir changes. It's kind of like a mixed bag of positivity, right? Like some of these are good, some of these are bad. Give it some time. Let's play it. I know you all love it. Well, I say you all, but there's only like 2 or 3 of you in here that have ever actually played with my Azir, and I know Punch specifically, because he was with me when we were playing fives.
I love you not playing Azir. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah. Well, you're lucky because I won't be here this weekend because I have to put my house together
All right.
to sell it, put it on the market. So yeah, I won't be here to play Azir. I'm sorry. I would have picked him up to play.
Thank goodness.
The
Play
Ponophobia
tonight.
World Famous.
I'll fill the void of Azir playing.
Yo, yeah, I could play it tonight. Somebody else go ADC.
I'll play
show you
Xin Zhao
soon.
tonight.
You know, I got
the
something
great-
going on tonight.
I gotta wash my hair.
Take care. Yes.
Oh shit, my cat's on fire. All
Don't
right.
have one of those, but I can pick one up and then it will be on fire.
You're adopting a cat so you can start it on fire, so you have an excuse to.
I need an excuse, Dom.
Orianna getting some changes. Q command attacks missile speed is now up to 1400. Ball's getting there more quickly. W command dissonance is buffered while fire at the destination when the ball has stopped moving, or will fire, at the destination when the ball has stopped moving. Didn't they remove this? They removed this and added this back, especially R command shockwave if buffered will fire at the destination. when
This
the
is
ball
a little
stopped
bit
moving.
different. This is the W and R changes because R is the same way. Is a bit of a nerf. You can't actually do it as quickly as you used to or as consistently. So they're kind of compensating that with the Q speed. This is like a net neutral change to Ori. Q is going to feel really good in lane now. It's your main ability that you spam all the time because W has like 110 mana cost or something silly. Yeah. Oh, and you can't buffer R and W together anymore. You have to.
Yeah, I feel like that was the big thing, and that's almost more why they're giving it the missile speed.
Yeah. So
How about
before
don't give it
you
to
could-
any of it and fuck Orianna? Thanks, Ryan.
No, Ori's fine. She's fine right now. I don't think she's like
Fine.
amazing or terrible. She's fine.
Fine.
She's fine. She's not as bad as like a lot of the other champions in the game right now.
Aurelian Soul.
We're
The
coming up
common
to one.
legend no longer goes on cooldown if Banshee's Veil is broken during flight. No, we saw that
Hey.
bug. What did we see that
Thanks
bug
for
with
playing.
Huhi?
CLG versus FlyQuest.
Mm-hmm. So
All right.
Azir, more bug fixes.
Right. Veigar
Or-
base stats attack range being increased to 550. I'm really happy about that one. Really happy. Base health regen has been increased significantly, 5.42 to 6.5. And the health growth stat has gone from 0.55 to 0.6.
That's all he needed.
It really is. It's just, these are phenomenal changes for Veigar.
But wait,
There's
more.
W Dark Matter is now called Meteor Shower. No, it's still called Dark Matter. Cooldown was 10 to 8, is now 8 at all ranks. Every 50 stacks of Phenomenal Evil lowers Dark Matter's cooldown by 10% and is multiplicative.
So I don't know if anybody caught Frog in stream today, but he's been playing a lot of Veigar in the past couple weeks, and he played him today, patch day. He had 300 CS at like 20 minutes because it's Froggin, but his Dark Matter was on a 2.2 second cooldown doing 1,500 damage.
Hell yeah.
it's pretty good.
So
this change is huge.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
auto attack range is massive. Like,
That's
you can't
really big.
overlook that. When
Right.
you add or take away 25 range from a champion, it changes their laning significantly.
Mm-hmm.
I remember they did it to Annie a long time ago, and they took away 25 range.
because she was
and she got
dumping bot lane.
They took away a lot more than 25.
She was
like a
si-
They
she had
did.
650.
Yeah,
Yeah, she did. But even 25 range is a lot for a champion like Veigar, who's very susceptible to assassins. So now he doesn't have to get quite as close as he did before, and he has a bit more window to use his stun.
Yeah.
So this can make a big difference.
because one of Veigar's issues in lane was a lot of times people just all in chunk him and force him out of lane because he's kind of squishy, didn't really have the best regen. But now if you're even at like 15 minutes, you pretty much are going to win that game just because of how he scales. And now
so
with
happy.
how W plays, and his E is almost as good as any other non-ult ability in the game.
Right.
It's just so
I'm
I
so
hate
happy for the Tiny Master of Evil because he is one of my go-to mid laners that I can play
You can play him.
decently well.
Yeah.
Not
Go
based
ahead.
on the last game I was in with you.
That was because I played into an assassin and I didn't have the extra range, so I just, got wrecked.
So we
Now that I
have to
25 range.
ban
So you talk to
all-
Riot.
all-
He first picked Veigar, everybody.
blind picking.
I was just confident.
Yeah. And you took it up
And
the
you,
ass.
and you confidently lost.
Hey, it happens to the best of us, right? Caitlyn, Marksman, let's go in those changes. Base stats, base health, dumpstered, 475 base health from 524.4. Health gross stat increased to compensate up to 85. Base attack speed has been increased to 0.568. Innate bonus attack speed is down to 10%. Attack speed at level 1 unchanged. Attack speed growth up to 4%, getting more attack speed as time goes on, but has less attack speed early. And significantly less health. What does she have? Does she have comparable health now to Sona or lower health? than
She
Sona?
has the third lowest starting base health in the game, I believe. Sona's actually like 486 or 496.
So she's going to walk in the lane with 525 life now instead of...
Roughly. I mean, if you get hit by an empowered Karma Q, you pretty much are below 50% now.
Yeah, changes are huge.
Caitlyn's now in this realm of you have to be very good at spacing and playing your lane perfectly, because if you eat one skill shot, you're done.
Anivia has the lowest, then Caitlyn, then Heimerdinger, then Lux, then Sona.
Yeah.
We're taking out Kled because of Scarl.
Yeah.
If you're playing against Caitlyn now, you can confidently pick a kill lane and always go in. And most likely kill her.
Play Xin Zhao Leona.
50,
go for
50 health at level 1 is like, if you also take Ignite, that's like you've had 2 Ignites on her that game. Her health is down.
Wait, Alistar, flash on top of her, press Q.
Done.
So
Flash on
there's
top
more
of her,
changes.
head butter into your AD carry.
More changes. Passive headshot can now proc on turrets.
Woo!
Just what she needed.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome. Piltover Peacemaker pass-through damage is now 67% to enemies beyond the first. Give her a little more wave clear. W, Yordle Snap Trap. Trap duration was 90 at all ranks. It is now 30, 35, 40, 45, 50 seconds as you put points in it. Bonus
Thank
headshot
goodness.
damage.
This is the change she needed.
Yeah, this is pretty much all the change she needed, right? Bonus headshot damage was 10 to 190 plus 0.6 total attack damage. It's now 40 to 240, and then it has a scaling attack damage up to 1.0 bonus attack damage. It was total previously for that. So, yes. Target reveal duration down to 3 seconds. Charge rate has been decreased to 30 to 12 seconds from 45 to 10.
Thank God. Oh,
That's
I
like
hate
melee
that.
traps when you used to be able to put them over the wall.
So,
Get rid of them.
really,
Got vision forever.
Yeah.
if they did these changes to Caitlyn like 6 patches ago when she was an issue, they wouldn't have need to have done anything else to her, I don't think.
Right.
Just the snap trap changes, like not messing with her attack speed, not messing with any of that other bullshit. Literally just change her trap. So,
Right.
Because ideally, the thing you want to do against Caitlyn, if she sets up on you, is you should be able to out-rotate around those, and she shouldn't be able to reset up as soon. And that wasn't happening.
I want to see the numbers on the bonus headshot damage for that, because I find myself wondering if she's going to go to a Q max first now instead of a trap max.
It was always Q-Max in lane still. It was like
Played against a lot who are maxing traps just because
then they're doing it wrong, because usually you
That's
go
bad.
no, because you
either
could
go
trap
3
your
to
opponent underneath their own tower. They couldn't do anything, and if they tried to do something, they took a
The
shitload of
problem
damage.
with that is you can't shove though without Q. Like your shoving is a lot worse than not almost, but like a lot of the meta ADCs right now.
I don't have like the matchups and everything that was going on in these situations in front of me. I would be willing to bet that it was like specific matchups that they were saying like, nope, W max because this way we can trap somebody and they can't do shit to us and we get a free tower.
Like the only time I didn't see it was I would see 3 points Q into W because you already took turret.
Well,
Yeah.
so
You also have
just-
you also have a lot more of that pass through damage. So that wave clear, that pushing ability is a lot better on Q regardless now.
Well,
so
with these changes, right? She becomes better mid to late, and she's still decent good if you have really good spacing. I think these changes overall are a buff. I know that you guys are really heavy-handed on this. A lot of you don't like it, but I think overall these changes actually make Caitlyn significantly better.
I think the only place they could potentially make her better would be in professional play, where they have less windows to take advantage of that early health. But I think in solo queue, she's really going to suffer.
I think she was already fine coming into the patch. I don't think she was like amazing, but she was probably like middle tier ADC, which is we don't need Caitlyn top tier all the time.
She was the worst ADC in the game.
Yeah, but she also I feel like a lot of people blind pick or just play Caitlyn when they don't have anything else to play because she's quote unquote a safe laner.
Sure.
Like she falls into the what's a champion people pick all the time that when they don't play the role.
Lee Sin.
Yeah, but
Azrael
Azrael used to be that ADC, right? You'd play Azrael.
used to be. No, he's bad.
And Caitlyn kind of took up that role.
But overall, I like these changes. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the base health reduction, but it just goes. We'll just keep saying it. If you were good at spacing with Caitlyn, the base health doesn't mean anything because you weren't taking any damage anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm bad at Caitlyn, and I'll never be able to play her. So regardless of what I think,
Speaking of ADCs, you're never
So
going to
yeah, of course you like.
I
to
can play
Shane.
Vayne. I'll show you. It's
I
happening.
I can attest to that. I've been in some games
No,
where he's wrecked
no.
shit with Vayne.
I can play Vayne. I can do it. I'll fucking show you.
I've
years
seen
ago.
it. I don't want to get his ego up, but he's played Vayne well sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay, I'll take sometimes.
Yeah.
Just like I can play Veigar well sometimes.
It's not your Jin. It's not your Jin, but it's,
Nothing
was
would ever be my Jin, let's be honest here. Q tumble
I've seen some
bonus
good
damage.
Jins.
You know what? All right, the peanut galleries. I'm going to start shitting on your cled if we don't stop this. Vayne, Q
I wanted to
tumble.
talk about a new Jin build, but we could talk about Vayne. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Bonus damage is no longer increased when attack critically strikes. Damage has been increased from 30 to 50% of total attack damage to 50 to 70% of total attack damage. Silver Bolt's percent health has been decreased. It was 6 to 12%, it is now 4 to 12%. Minimum damage has been increased to make up for it a bit. It was 40 to 120, now 50 to 110. And Final Hour has been changed. If a champion dies within 3 seconds of being damaged by Vayne, Final Hour's duration is extended by 4 seconds. This cannot extend the remaining duration past the initial maximum duration.
This is scary.
No, I don't think it is. Because what does she build now? Because before you were going double attack speed IE and you were critting people off Q for their entire health bar. You can't do that anymore, and Bork's not a great first item on her.
Now you build double attack speed Wit's End.
And her lane's worse. Because she's losing a little bit of percent HP on her W. And the Q changes... I mean, they changed Q because they're like, oh, it's going to help her laning. I don't think...
Why do you think her
2%
lane is
max. No, she won't
should
lose
be
any
better.
damage at level 1 on her W
worse? The
because
intent
it gets
behind these
10.
changes was to make her lane better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe my percent is a little bit off, but I don't think it changes how her lane is right now.
It does. Her early game gets a lot better through the Q bonus tumble
I don't-
damage because you're
the-
still
the-
building crit, right? Like your double.
guess.
You're still
You
building.
usually go
IH.
3 points into W and then max Q, right?
Most people were
It's
maxing.
pretty
Other way around.
Yeah, most people were putting Q early.
It's 3Q and then W. or
3
you
Q
just,
then W. Okay, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but you're still putting points into Q early now because you have that scaling. The scaling is so
Sure.
much higher, and you're setting extra damage. No, I think overall, it's like if you look at it, it's something like her early game is better, and she has a mildly weaker mid game. And then if you build double Zeal, you have like what 10-15% weaker late game because you're not getting as much damage out of the crit, but you're still building the same build as you previously were.
Now, I don't know if this has anything to do with... It's not going to have anything to do with this patch, but if you've actually looked at Vayne's stats the last 5 patches, her play rate's gone up and her win rate has gone up over every patch. So I don't... Sure, maybe I don't like the changes, but if it keeps being a trend, I guess we're going to see more Vayne. I think she's like either the 3rd or 4th most, depending on... or play rate, depending on what site you're looking on. I would usually check OP.GG.
She's always got a high play rate, right?
Yeah, but it's like
She's-
51%.
She's the 3rd most played. Last patch, I should say, she was 3rd most played, and she was also the 3rd winningest AD carry.
Yeah. So she's back up again to that spot, and
That's
that
fair.
makes me
Some of
worry
that-
more about than anything else. That she was already increasing over patches before anything got changed.
Some of that is her benefiting more than most from Ardent Censor, which is still good, and so she's still going to benefit, but like she's not going to get the lifesteal element of it anymore. And the other part is like she should be surviving, like she should be thriving in a tank heavy meta, and we're in a tank heavy meta.
Sure.
Hyper carries.
We have
All
a
the
lot-
hyper carries are at the top.
We still have a lot to get to because we got to talk Ardent Censor and shit and Janna, right? So,
Oh, Janna.
Edge of Night, Spell Shield.
Jan should be an whole episode.
Edge of Night, Spell
Yeah,
Shield have been
seriously.
increased to 7 seconds. Active cooldown decreased to 40 seconds.
Cool. Edge of Knight's better. That's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
That item exists.
Still not as good as it previously was. Better than it was yesterday.
Correct.
Right.
Cool, Janna.
Yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday. Janna, base stats. Okay. Instead of going through all of these like base stat, I mean, there's some significant base stat changes here. I actually have the old document. Janna is so good now. They hotfixed her on day 1. That's what you have to
So-
say about these changes.
We are recording at roughly like 8 p.m. Central Time. She got hotfixed 3 hours ago, and the patch went live at what, noon or something?
No,
This
it was-
morning.
Yeah, this morning. Okay, cool. So not even a full 12 hours, and she got hotfixed, which I think is a new record.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking before, Annie got her auto attack range reduced, and then we are talking about how good Veigar can be just with 25 range. They gave Janna 75 range.
Right.
Yeah, so she's at 550 now, which outranges, well, it doesn't outrange, but she's on par with like Sivir.
Contemporaries.
Yeah.
I mean, and the support, Karma, that type of thing.
And she has higher attack range than Vayne now.
Yep. And they messed with some other stuff. The hot fix was they changed some base stats on her. They lowered her HP move speed by 15, so it's like 320, and then they dropped her mana by 50. But the rest of the changes, oh my god.
Well, so okay, we'll go over the changes here. They increased her base health, decreased health gross stat, attack range up to 550 from 475, base attack damage lowered to 46 from 52, attack damage growth halved down to 1.5, attack speed gross stat is higher up to almost 3%, basic attack missile speed up significantly up to 1600.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So throughout all these changes, what you're looking at is, if you're listening to the podcast, I know the guys that are with me right now remember this, we always told you when you play Janna, you should be auto-harassing, putting a shield on yourself and auto-harassing. You shouldn't be using the shield just to absorb damage on your ADC. That's what you're doing now with Janna. You're throwing the shield on yourself and you're auto-harassing the enemy laners down. She becomes a harass enchantress rather than a save and... she has a different role.
That depends on what you're up against.
Right,
It always does, of course.
But for the most part, so the people who just played Janna and stood in the back line and only shielded their ADC, they got a little bit worse on this patch. People who are actually good Janna players or Janna mains got a lot better on this patch from the rest of the ability changes.
Which we need to cover before we can really dive into this stuff.
Okay, sure.
So
There's a lot.
her passive...
Go ahead, Dom.
Janna now benefits from Tailwind's 8% movement speed increase. Previously, only her teammates benefited from that when they were moving towards her. Janna's basic attacks and single target spells deal bonus magic damage equal to 35% of her bonus movement speed.
Who thought that was a good idea?
So Tailwind's 8% movement speed increase counts towards its bonus magic damage. At her base movement speed of 320, it grants 8 additional bonus magic damage by itself.
Oh, and don't forget your W passive.
Yeah, and these things stack multiplicatively, so she still gets up to 3. I mean, even at base, they nerfed her base movement speed, but with Tailwind's passive, she's up to 336. So she saw she's moving, back to her base anyway.
Yeah.
Howling Gale, the mana cost has been changed from 90 to 150 per level down to 60 to 140. The cooldown is now 12 at all ranks. The range has been increased from 850 to 1742 to 1000 to 1750 based on the charge time. And the big change here is that Howling Gale now always reaches its endpoint in 1.5 seconds. So this means that a fully charged cast moves 75% faster than an instant cast does. Instant casts are actually going to move a little bit slower than they did, and for Janna, for the flavor of the month Janna players, this is going to be a really difficult thing for you. For the Janna mains, it's going to take a game for you to figure this out, maybe 2. It's a big change. It totally screws with her timings, but it's not something they can't overcome. Zephyr changes. The mana cost has gone up by 10 at all ranks. The cooldown is down to 8 seconds from 12 at all ranks. Slow duration is down to 2 seconds from 3. Her passive movement speed is down from 9% to 17% to 6% to 10%. And then the range has been changed to 550, but it's now measured from hitbox edges. So basically, she has better range against large targets and slightly worse range against small ones. And then the big change, more than anything else here, is that the cooldown on Eye of the Storm, her shield, has gone from 10 seconds at all rates to 18 seconds at rank 1 down to 10 seconds at rank 5.
So
the idea was this was supposed to be the change that took her out of ban prison, but
no. So they
instead she got hotfixed because she got the 58% win rate on day 1.
Yeah, so they buffed some stats. They buffed 2 abilities. They buffed her passive, and then they kind of lightly slapped her on the wrist with E when it's still your first max anyway. And yeah, it's going to matter earlier in lane, but
it's a huge nerf to her lane.
Sure, but considering everything else, it's not even close to being enough.
No, so she now has the ability to actually harass and trade with opponents during lane just through her auto attacks because there's so much extra damage packed into those. Even once you hit level 2, you could make an argument to. I mean, you could make an argument to start with Zephyr. You could make an argument to take Zephyr at level 2 because you're getting so much additional damage from your auto attacks and also on when you hit somebody with Zephyr.
So
You probably also
quick
take 80
question to
reds
you.
now, too.
yeah, definitely.
certainly.
I was actually curious. Do you maybe switch to like a? I'm not going to go as far as saying Thunderlords because that would be bonkers. But if you have Spell Thieves, and go auto W auto at level 1 and use all your Spell Thieves charges, like you've just done a ton of damage from a champion who wasn't doing that damage before.
Janna mains were actually
ridiculous.
taking Thunderlords because doing
Holy
exactly
shit.
what you described. They were taking 80 carries down to less than half health. Now, this was before she got hotfix, so she had a lot of free damage coming in just because her base movement speed was so much higher.
Yeah, it kind of fell into a Lulu thing where you take Thunderlords sometimes because you just want to kill the other person.
I think the first things they're going to do will be to nerf all the free movement speed she's getting from the passive and from her W passive. There's just too much. Like on the PBE for a long time, it was a 5% movement speed increase from her Tailwind passive, and for some reason that is still 8%.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Janna still really good.
They did take down the movement speed on Zephyr a good bit. So I mean, that's down 7% at max rank. So you're making up for that late game.
And
I agree. You're getting way more early.
She's getting so much more early.
Debate.
And
Yeah.
I know
And that's
she's
what's
sitting at
ruining
a
Monster.
58% win rate, but I don't remember a time when Janna's ever been below 50%. I think she's always been high.
Yeah.
Just because of her playstyle. So yes, it looks high, but it's not quite as high as when a champion's like Skarner or Warwick or whatever, we're at like 58 to 60%. She's not quite that broken, but she is overpowered, and they need to tune her down somewhere.
Yeah, except I don't think
you're right with the
Skarner,
movement
even
speed.
when Skarner got reworked, had like a 25% play rate.
Yeah,
No,
but
it-
when you were trying to take her from being the best support by a mile and then made her better, like that's not the change. That's
Here's
not the
the
change
thing.
you want.
Here's the thing we have to keep in mind when we're talking about these really early stats. Most of the aggregators we're using have us looking at the highest MMR players out there. Lower MMR players, the players who are really used to just picking Janna and then sitting in the back shielding somebody and calling it good, are not going to be doing well with Janna anymore. Like you are going to you're actually going to have to play the champion in order to succeed with her.
But like you can really see what they're trying to do here. They're trying to punish you. Riot's trying to like nerf people who just sit there with Janna and with like a cog or whatever it is, and just get a free lane by pressing E on your AD carry or yourself when you're taking damage. But now you've very much transitioned into like a almost offensive support where you have to be trading. So you need to learn how to lane properly with her. She's definitely more in line with, I would say, maybe Sona.
Karma is really the best comp.
Okay, Karma, yeah, but a lot more aggressive.
I like both.
Not passive.
I like both there. Yeah.
I like the transition of playstyle though. I think it's healthy.
I do too.
Just they need to tune it down a bit.
Alright, we got like one more change because I'm going to mention this right now because it's not really worth mentioning that much. Zeke's got cost lowered, combined cost lowered, and it does a little more damage. Woo, no one builds Zeke's.
I really like Zeke, so I think this
We're
is a
not
huge
talking
change.
about Zeke's.
You were the only one.
I mean, they're really just trying to give you more options instead
Yeah,
of just
but
Ardent
the
Censor.
bigger item change here is Ardent.
Healing or shielding an ally champion now also grants your Ardent Censor's buff instead of only your ally. Ardent Censor buff no longer restores health. Attack speed steroid now scales with level 20 to 35%. On hit damage steroid now scales to 20 to 35%. Both were flat 25%.
Which is a revert of the previous nerf. It's back to what it was for half of the season.
Yeah. I'm sure, Beaver, you're super excited because your Kale Master Yi Dream is more than alive with this change.
We're gonna do it one day. I just gotta convince Todd to play Kale. Build support.
I'll play Kale, dude.
Okay, top lane.
So I was actually thinking about this, and while it's a buff to like anybody who's using Ardent just to like attack, the champions that actually would get a benefit out of Ardent don't really build Ardent because like Bard obviously with a higher attack speed, more autos. Tarek, he gets more of a buff here because
It's a big buff to Tarek.
It's a big buff to Tarek, but outside of that, like, yeah, I guess
Tarek, Karma, Janna.
Karma's not huge on it.
No, it's big for Karma because
Sure.
she gets cooldown reduction on Mantra every time she auto
That's
attacks.
right.
So
And
it's huge for Karma.
And Lulu, not so much either because Pix is on somebody else most of the time. So it's interesting.
And I think one thing to remember is it affects AD carries obviously more than supports probably because you can't just necessarily every game build, i.e. double zeal. Some games, if you're against like a poke comp, you're going to have to build a lifesteal item first because you don't have lifesteal built in now with your Ardent Censor. So you can't be as greedy with your builds and you have to vary them a little bit more. There are games where you can still do that, but
It won't happen.
Remember, when you need sustain, you need to pick up a Vamp Scepter.
It won't happen for 80 carries, though. 80 carries aren't going to change their double zeal item into iEdge build path at all because there is no where you can weave a Vampiric Scepter for 800 gold into that build path.
And the thing is, it's not like your opponent is getting lifesteal that you didn't get anymore. So this hits both 80 carries if they were both going to have Ardent Censor. Otherwise, there's a little bit more parity if you, for some reason, like if you weren't going to have it, but your opponent would.
Also, you're not allowed to be as greedy with Fervor. You have to take Warlords more often because I was seeing a lot of people just like ignore Warlords because they got the healing off Ardent Censor. So now they can't really do that unless they're again gonna just kind of get punished.
Yeah, I can see this change actually buffing Blade of the Rune King 80 carries because they're the ones who build the lifesteal and now they have even more attack speed. So like Twitch should be a lot better this patch.
Was Twitch still going Bork first?
I think so.
I don't pay attention to Twitch. I just know he's
it's
really
definitely
good.
in your first 3 items.
No, he was going Hurricane first.
He's going Hurricane?
Yeah, he's going Hurricane IE.
And
he didn't have Bork in there at all.
He didn't have Bork in there? Yeah, you might just see like a small tweak in item builds, but...
Yeah. I mean, I guess it helps Draven because Draven built BT.
Yeah, Draven should be good.
Just what we need, more Draven.
No, Draven builds Death Dance.
Yeah, I was gonna say Draven.
Oh, okay, fine, lifesteal. It's still a lifesteal. Whatever.
No one is building BT. I mean, what 6-item misfortune maybe or something, but like even nobody's building BT at all. No one's building lifesteal right now.
Riven built BT.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and so this change to Ardent Censor does change that point. Like people are going to have to start looking at lifesteal again because they're not getting it from their support anymore.
Potentially. I mean, you have lifesteal sitting on Doran's plus masteries, but
you're seeing Doran Shield a lot of time now too.
Yeah,
that's the other thing.
Sure.
So you're not.
I'm like, it's just the amount of AD that you had to get to match the lifesteal that you were getting from Ardent Censor was actually, I mean, it was really, really high. You had to get like 300 AD or something going on before you were starting to match what Ardent Censor was doing for you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now you don't have that equivalent coming your way. So, I mean, at a certain point, 80 carry builds are going to have to adjust, or they're just not going to have lifesteal, and they're going to hope they're just that much better than their opponents.
Well, you're gonna have to weave lifesteal somewhere in your build now. Definitely, it's gonna be like I said, it's gonna be too hard. It is gonna be really hard, right? Because the double zeal iEdge is still really good, but when you're running into a Thornmail, you need that lifesteal, and Ardent Censor made up for the fact that everyone's building Bramblevest or Thornmail and has grievous wounds. So I don't know. I think you're going to have to, but do I think people are going to do it? No.
It's just going to take a while for the majority of the player base to get hip to that.
It's just unfortunate. There's just no good lifesteal items. Blade of the Ruin King really isn't that good, and BT sucks. Death's Dance is only good on a handful of champions. So you need.
Well, are they better now?
You need to give me a better Blade of the Ruin King.
Mercurial Scimitar.
That's expensive as fuck.
And it's super fucking expensive, yeah.
You end up sitting on QSS the entire game because you never have the slots to buy the rest of the items that build into it.
Well, one last change before we get out of here. Fixed a bug on Face of the Mountain where casting the active on an ally out of range caused the player to walk in range, then cast it on the closest ally instead of the selected one.
Woo!
Yeah, the Punch's
What
reaction,
code?
if you didn't see that, was like the perfect reaction to this. He just made that like, what the fuck face.
Why did it work that way? Oh well, whatever.
They're straightening the spaghetti,
I mean,
man.
it could be like heal goes to the closest person to your cursor if you're not mousing over someone. I don't know. Like, It doesn't make sense.
They
I'm trying
they
to.
just make you walk over there and then cast it on the wrong target anyway. It's just a big middle finger.
That's it.
Well, it'd be funny if you walk in range. Fuck it. Well, it doesn't matter.
We made it. We made it through the patch. We did it. We made it through all of it, and we'll be back Monday with more of it. Hey, are you all ready to?
Oh my goodness.
Play on 719. Some Azir, maybe some Kale, Master Yi,
Some Veigar.
Oh yeah.
some Veigar.
Some of that will
Definitely.
happen, maybe.
Mitch, Vel'Koz, Lee Sin.
Yeah, actually, I got an email while we were recording Lee Sin tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So
That's Patreon.
Vel'Koz should be this weekend.
Patreon.com/T-Force Network. Vel'Koz, Lee Sin coming out. I also have a guide I need to send over to you for Victor.
Okay. It's just I know how to play Victor. You just use your E, clear the wave, and you've played Victor now. That's it.
Press some buttons.
There's no nuance to him. It's clear the wave. You're done.
Well, I guess hopefully the
button.
Champions
Feel
League
it, guys.
podcast will make that so there is nuance. So you'll find out there is nuance to playing that champion inside of that. That's the whole point of those series. So patreon.com/T-Force Network.
Just teach me.
That's what he says. All right, we're done. We just lost Heartless at the very end, but that's all right because the show is ending. Guys, that's the entire episode. We'll leave it there. Thanks for listening. We'll see you all next week. Have a good evening.
Bye.
See you guys.